All right, Shalom. Before I start, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakurash, the honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all that like to Akim Wa Akwa, learning and teaching in truth and sincerity. Another video to the spirit, your brother Malak from GMS Detroit. All right, in my regular vehicle, so it should be less noise in the background, Lord willing. But I know some of y'all haven't seen this, right? This fuck nigga Matt Walsh. You know, he said he's proud of what his ancestors did. And that's good. Keep that same energy. Because it's going to be the justification for Yahweh Shai and the elect coming back and whooping all of Esau's ass. Yep. Keep that energy. But this video, you know, he's going to be shown saying why he's proud that his ancestors did all the slaughtering that they did so that, you know, he can enjoy America today. But he's going to say two things in here that I just wanted to address. Number one, the fact that the Native Americans were all a bunch of cannibalistic cutthroats who the settlers had to fight and strive with, and the fact that they were primitive. And those two things simply are not false. The natives of Canada, of North, Central, and South America, which were Israelites, right? The so-called Latinos and Native Americans, the 12 tribes, right, are brothers. When they made first contact with settlers, the majority of them were very welcoming. In fact, they were the ones who taught the European conquerors and settlers and invaders how to survive in this new strange environment. And had they not taught them how to survive, you devils would have literally died off. So the Hollywood mythological idea that they were all, immediately, had fucking canine teeth coming to kill you, that's just incorrect. Now, were there hostilities after a while? Yes, of course. But those began after it was found out that you devils were a bunch of enslavers, murderers, and rapists. That's when the hostilities began. And I'm going to have videos to prove that. And then also the fact that they were primitive, which they were not. So, especially here in America, many of the things that we use here in America today, along with Negro inventors, you had Latinos and Native Americans come up with many of the things that we use still to this day. One of the big ones being rubber, which is an integral component to your car has rubber, your phone has rubber, your house has rubber. You can thank Native Americans for that. They had highly advanced agriculture, advanced irrigation systems, right? Sewer systems. Esau Edom equates modern day technology with sophistication, which it's not. The so-called white man's technology destroys people and the earth. The natives had technology which was cohesive with the earth and with people. So who's really advanced? You've been over here less than 500 years and you've damn near destroyed the planet. They were over here for 2,700 and America looked beautiful when y'all got over here. So who's really the primitive, violent motherfucker? All right, let me start here with this one. Psalms 58:3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go forth as soon as they be born, speaking lies. He's about to do nothing but spew lies and common American mythological rhetoric in this video, which is something that they like to do to excuse themselves of guilt. So let's let it play.
Is our civilization one that we should be proud of, in spite of its history of conquest?
What the hell?
No. Not.
Okay, Salaki, y'all, my audio's fucking up. It sounds like we're good now.
One that we should be proud of, even in spite of its history of conquest. No. Not in spite of that history. I'm proud of it in large part because of that history. It is one of the great triumphs of all time that our forefathers had to first conquer an ocean in order to then land on a giant mass of uncharted wilderness filled with untold dangers and wild on a giant mass of uncharted wilderness filled with untold dangers and wild beasts and, yes, primitive warring tribes, many of whom practice human sacrifice and cannibalism, and who, if they captured you, would torture you for fun and rape your wife and children before killing you, maybe eating your internal organs and taking your family as their property. And yet, in the face of those unimaginable horrors, Our forefathers and ancestors conquered this entire hemisphere and settled it and single-handedly dragged it out of the Stone Age and built from the wilderness the greatest civilization the world had ever known. Am I proud of that? Yes, I am. Now, the natives lived in the Americas for 20,000 years. And this is something that the left and the people who hate this country like to bring up all the time. Well, they were here for so long. Yeah, they were here for a long time. What did they do in that time? During that time, they never figured out the wheel. They never figured out written language. Most of them progressed hardly at all over the course of 200 centuries. They were still eating each other and
they weren't over here 20,000 years. You know, he's speaking from that pseudoscience, carbon date and shit. So don't mind that. 2,700. They got taken out of northern kingdom of Israel in 700 BC's, plus 2,000 more years, right? Estimately 2,700.
living in tents, many of them. The great tribes of Mesoamerica had advanced the most, and by that I mean they had caught up to the ancient Egyptians by the time that the conquistadors showed up. They were building pyramids at a time when Europeans were using the printing press. Then European settlers arrived here, and in less than 3 centuries, they had established a nation. In another 70 or so years, that nation would stretch across the entire continent from one ocean to another. In another 50 years, they'd be digging a giant trench through the earth to physically connect one ocean to the other. At the same time, they would be building vehicles that can fly through the air. In another few decades, they'd be walking on the surface of the moon. Okay, these settlers took a wilderness sparsely inhabited by hostile Stone Age natives, and in a matter of a few centuries built the greatest, most advanced, most globally dominant nation the world has ever known. Am I proud of that? Oh yes, I am very proud.
And so it's just simply not true. And you know, look at the great disparity. 1.5 million views, only 17,000 likes. If what he was saying was really true, you know, this shit would have 1 million likes. It's just simply not true. They weren't a bunch of complete savages. Not every tribe practiced human sacrifice and cannibalism. This is what Esau has to do, because he has shameful spewing on his glory, right? They're dealing with the reproach of their wicked ancestors. They have to try to sugarcoat over everything to their advantage. Common so-called white people tactics, right? Common so-called white people tactics. Let me go to that Zechariah real quick. You already know what it is. Zechariah 11:5. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. Right. So they try to frame themselves from the position of, you know, they've done nothing wrong. Y'all were the savages. We were just defending ourselves. We came and conquered and built this great civilization. All the pieces of technology we made are better than yours. Well, the pieces of technology that you have today give everybody cancer, and they pollute the earth, and they do nothing but literally kill people. These people were over here for 2,700 years living in cohesion with nature. And you've been over here less than half that, and you've destroyed the world. How about that? So let's get some clips to address what he was saying, because how did the natives treat Christopher when he first came over here? And how did Christopher how did the conquistadors treat the natives when they came? Who was really the savage? Who really was mutilating people and trying to rape people's women and families? Who started it? Us or you? Let's see what history says. Right here, let's play this, and then I'm gonna go to YouTube too.
Darkest things I've ever read in history, and it's about Columbus meeting the natives. In his letters, he writes, "They are very simple and honest and exceedingly liberal with all they have, none of them refusing anything he may possess when he is asked for it. They exhibit great love towards all others in preference to themselves." He says they are the best people.
This is from Columbus's journal. They exhibit love to everyone else when he encountered the Taínos, right? This don't sound like what Matt was saying. This is from Columbus's journal.
In the world, and above all he says they are the best people in the world, and above all the gentlest, without knowledge of what is evil, nor do they murder or steal. They love their neighbors as themselves, and they have the sweetest talk in the world, always laughing. After saying all that, he then writes, they would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. Is that not the most brutal thing you've ever heard? Like, I just don't understand how we got to that point as
And that's the reality of it, that they didn't want to teach us in school. That man came over here and observed a beautiful, peaceful people and decided to take advantage of them. That's the reality of it that Mr. Walsh doesn't want to talk about. So
This will be a change.
Even the sweetest changes.
We all know.
what we're going to do is let this play out. I'm going to let this play damn near all the way through. What happened when he encountered them?
92, while they were sailing, told his people to help the Spanish and retreat. The Taino drink, watched from behind trees.
So when he touched down, what happened? Were they the stomach-eating cannibals like Matt said? Or were they not?
Bushes. Shortly after landing, many of the island's inhabitants assembled on the beach. The Tainos gave them food and drink, gifts of parrots, cotton, and other goods. And the Spaniards gave them gifts of red hats and beads. The Taino people had never seen white men before and thought they were gods. Columbus spent the next 2 months looking for gold. In December of 1492, while they were sailing east of Cuba, 3 ships under the command of
So upon first contact, they exchanged gifts. And later on, as more settlers came, they helped other settlers learn the land, teach them how to grow crop, how to fish, right, how to survive the winters. We know that with Squanto. Squanto was famous for that, right? Which he was actually kidnapped and made a slave, and still decided to help out you so-called white settlers, Edomites. You're just a bunch of liars. Matt Walsh is just a big fat liar.
Columbus approached the second largest island in the Caribbean, which they later called La Española. Just when he was about to return to Spain on Christmas Eve, his ship, the Santa Maria, ran aground and sank. The Taino chief, Wakanagari, told his people to help the Spanish and retrieve every salvageable item. A problem arose when all the sailors who had accompanied Columbus could not fit on the 2 remaining and smaller ships. So, a fort was built using the salvaged wood from the Santa Maria, and 39 men were left behind at a fort Columbus called La Navidad. Shortly after, Columbus set sail for Spain, taking some of the natives and birds, foods, and plants to show the king and queen. For the second voyage, Columbus was given a fleet of 17 ships and some soldiers. Upon arrival at La Navidad, Columbus found the fort burned to the ground, and all 39 men he had left behind had been killed.
So now, why did the natives kill the men that he left behind? Was it because they were uncontrollable savages? Let's see.
It seems the sailors left behind had misbehaved in the form of rape of the local women and theft of anything they saw that they wanted.
So the men that Columbus left behind were committing rape and theft. That's why the natives killed them. So once again, Matt, you're a liar. Which people had the bad intentions and began violence? Yours did, your ancestors. You're a bloody liar, a descendant of bloody people.
Local leaders named Caunabo had met with the other leaders, and all but one agreed that gods would never have behaved in the manner that the Spaniards had, and they decided the Spaniards had to go, so they eliminated them and the threat they posed to their people. Columbus vowed to find Caunabo and retaliate. More fortified places were rapidly built, including a city founded on January 2nd.
And Taino is Ephraim, right? They were dealing with Ephraimites.
1493, and named La Isabella for the queen. From that point on, life as the Taino knew it ended. The Spaniards took revenge for the destruction of the Fort La Navidad and also took slaves. Columbus forced the Tainos to work in the gold mines searching for gold. Those who refused were killed. Each adult over 14 years of age was expected to deliver a hogsbell full of gold every 3 months, or when this was lacking, 25 pounds of spun cotton. If this tribute was not brought, the Spanish cut off the hands of the Taino and left them to bleed to death. Taino women were given to Spaniards to do with whatever they wished.
Taxes was feeling.
The fields, unattended, failed to yield enough food for the Tainos and the Spaniards, whose supplies had run out. All were hungry. Columbus found Caonabo. They tricked him in order to capture him, and he was put on a ship that was sent to Spain and was never heard from again. Many Tainos starved to death. Others died from hard labor. Many committed suicide. Epidemics swept the island. They were beaten, tortured, raped, enslaved, and murdered. After 1496, the number of Tainos fell by about 70%. Guacanacari, the chief who befriended Columbus, also died soon. At this point, the Spaniards in La Isabela started a rebellion.
Hey, and that's prophecy, y'all. They damn near wiped out Ephraim. Let me get that real quick. Damn near, but the Heavenly Father made sure it didn't happen. Genesis 49 and what? 49 and 22. Joseph is a fruitful bow. Ephraim's known for having many children. Even a fruitful bow by a well whose branches run over the wall. Right. They're in the Isle of Puerto Rico. And they're known for whose branches run over the wall. Our people are known, Northern Kingdom especially, they're known for being coons, running over and loving Esau, which we see this in this case, right? They're being way too nice to Columbus. Should have killed him on sight, but prophecy had to happen. Verse 23, the archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him. So those conquistadors tried to eliminate our brothers and sisters, y'all. Beginning with Ephraim. It's no coincidence the Heavenly Father, the first tribe that they came in contact with was Ephraim, the head of Northern Kingdom. Right? Then a couple hundred years later, they came and doubled up on Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So the prophecy had to be fulfilled. Northern and Southern Kingdom were pressed together. Jeremiah 15:33. All right, coming back.
Rebellion against Columbus and his brothers. The Spanish king and queen sent a royal investigator to calm the situation. Columbus and his brothers were found guilty for numerous crimes against both the natives and the Spaniards. Columbus and his brothers were arrested and put on a ship to Spain. The Spanish authorities would allow him another voyage across the ocean, but they forbid him to visit La Española. He explored the Caribbean for 2 years and then returned to Spain, where he died in 1506. Meanwhile, on La Española, the Tainos who didn't want to work for the Spanish fled for the hills. The Tainos ruled in a mountain region. Their leader was a woman named Ana Caona. She was the wife of Caonabo, the chief who had led the attack on the Spanish fort years earlier. In 1503, the Spanish governor requested a meeting with her in order to break the resistance. During the meeting of 80 Taino leaders, including Ana Caona, the Spanish governor Nicolas de Ovando ordered the meeting house to be set on fire to burn them alive. Ana Caona was arrested and accused of conspiracy for resisting occupation and executed. Prior to her execution, Ana Caona was offered clemency if she would give herself to one of the Spaniards, which was common in the era. Standing with her fellow Tainos in solidarity, the Taino indigenous female leader chose execution over colluding with her Spanish enemy, her refusal creating her legend. Ana Caona remained rebellious and independent until her violent public death. She was executed by hanging at the age of 29. Another Taino chief, Cotubana Mahuo, was ruling in another area, successfully resisting the Spaniards for a while, until he suffered the same fate as Ana Caona. But there was one Taino who came to be known as the most resilient of all. His name was Enrique. He was also in the meeting when the Spaniards burned 80 Taino leaders. In fact, one of them was his father. Enrique managed to escape. After a Spaniard governor named Vanezuela raped his wife, Enrique started a revolt in 1519 with a large number of Tainos from the mountain range. He and his followers started a community in the mountains and set up a scouting network. Enrique instructed his men to fight only in self-defense, to kill Spaniards only in the course of battle, otherwise simply to deprive them of their arms. The Spaniards often attacked them, but the Taínos pushed them off time after time. During one battle, Venezuela himself was captured, but even his life would be spared. Enrique ordered his release. The Taínos were able to continue the rebellion and waged guerrilla warfare on the Spaniards until 1533, because of their better knowledge of the region. As the Spaniards were not able to control the rebellion, Spain's monarch, Charles V, signed a treaty granting the Taínos the rights of freedom and possession. Enrique settled in the mountains with his 4,000 followers, the last members of the Taíno culture. By this time, the native...
Yeah, so Enrique held out. So right here. So Esau Edom once again is a liar. Matt Walsh is simply lying. They were the peaceful ones. You so-called white people were the war-driven ones. All right, now, did they have particular wars amongst themselves? Yes, but like I always say, what? All peoples do. We're not the Germans killing the Jews? But y'all made a whole hoopla about that. Huh? So we're supposed to care when it's white-on-white crime, but when other people have wars amongst themselves, you try to demonize them. You see how that shit work? That's crazy. Psalms 55:21. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that's this deceptive, demonic spirit that his ancestors came over here with. And that's the reality of the situation. They didn't take this land nobly. They didn't survive the horrors of this place, right? These people treated them good and showed them how to live and what they do. Backstab. Let me get this real quick.
1820, a group of English pilgrims arrived in North America on the Mayflower, establishing the Plymouth colony. Struggling to survive in the new land, they encountered a Native American named Squanto, whose story is one of extraordinary survival and assistance. Squanto, or Tisquantum, was a member of the Patuxet tribe. Years before the pilgrims arrived, he had been captured by English explorers and sold into slavery in Spain. He eventually escaped to England, where he learned English and later returned to his homeland, only to find his tribe decimated by disease. When the pilgrims arrived, Squanto's knowledge of English and European customs made him an invaluable intermediary. He taught the pilgrims essential survival skills such as how to cultivate corn, extract sap from maple trees, and fish in local rivers. Squanto's guidance was crucial in helping the pilgrims establish a foothold in the New World.
So here it is, y'all enslaved this man, and he still taught you how to survive in this land. So once again, Matt Walsh, you've been found a liar. Okay, right here, Slocky, y'all. This is showing, because at one point, he called them savages, and then he called them primitive. Well, these primitive people came out with some ingenious technologies, which still get used to this day. And in case they cut the video from here, I'm just going to be showing some of the technologies. Because, this is a history channel. They may take this part of the footage and I might have to clip it out. Inuit goggles right there. Star Trek stole off that design. Kayaks, which you white people love to go swimming in or sailing in. Suspension bridges, medicine, right? Things like natural morphine, hammocks, syringes. The Aztec floating cities, which still are used today. And then rubber, which is used in major components today. So if they're primitive, then what does it make you Edomites for stealing everything that they had? Alright, so right here, so they play.
Light bouncing off the snow. Goggles. For thousands of years, the indigenous residents of the Arctic, Greenland, Canada, and Alaska, also known as the Inuit, have been fashioning their own special goggles.
So, that's one. What we got?
Let me guess. You're thinking about going to therapy. And as a therapist myself, of course I'm going to say that's a great idea.
You can also thank the Inuit and other Arctic cultures for inventing the thing your dad always insists on pulling out when you're at a lake house, the kayak. Used primarily for hunting and fishing, kayaks were designed to have no openings so that it wouldn't fill with water or sink if it capsized. The captain of the kayak wore a shield covering where he sat, completely sealing the vessel from filling up. The kayaks were super light. The frame was made of wood, and then sealskin or other animal hides were stretched over it.
So, hey, They're so primitive. Why are you using their technology then, huh? E, how about that? Matter of fact, let me just go to this one.
The medicine man often appears in popular culture in representations of indigenous people. This person's practice often combines herbal medicines with spiritual healing. Native American peoples developed a number of natural remedies for pain management that are the basis of pain-killing drugs used today. Healers in several places in North America ground jimson weed into a soothing plaster to spread over cuts and bruises, and people would eat it as an anesthetic when setting broken bones. There was also a tea made from the American black willow, which contained salicin, which caused the body to produce salicylic acid, the modern ingredient in aspirin.
So, natural aspirin and all kinds of things. Right here.
Over 1,000 years before you took luxurious summer afternoon naps on one in the backyard, the hammock was the main mode of sleeping for the indigenous peoples of Central America. Originally made from woven bark of the hamac tree, hammocks protected the suspended sleepers from being stung or bitten by critters, snakes, and insects. The savviest snoozers lit small fires beneath their hammocks to keep them warm and repel bugs. Meanwhile, mattresses of the day, stuffed with straw, were the perfect breeding ground for pests and disease. Hammocks' swaying motion may also allow for deeper sleep. A recent study showed that Skip this one if you're squeamish. Indigenous people actually invented the syringe. The early indigenous people of South America developed a device that closely resembled the modern syringe, and they used it for the very same purposes. A sharpened, hollow bird's bone attached to an animal bladder that could inject the body with medicines and irrigate wounds. We appreciate the contributions indigenous doctors have made to the medical community, but also, why did they have to do that? The Aztecs of the 14 to 1600s mastered an agricultural technique that had existed for centuries and is still used today. Chenampams are essentially mini islands, enriched soil piled up in marshy, swampy areas around lakes for the purpose of growing crops. Think of them like an ancient version of the Palm Islands off the coast of Dubai. And instead of sunbathing and snorkeling, you're growing food. The capital of the Aztec Empire was called
Tenochtitlan, a floating food city. That don't seem primitive if you ask me.
Tenochtitlan, located on two islands in the middle of Lake Texcoco, modern-day Mexico City. In response to the city's rapidly increasing population, and with a lake between them and any fields, the Aztecs built a vast, super-organized system of chenampams. More than 3,000 years ago, the Olmec civilization of southern Mexico invented the chemical process of creating rubber. They were so well known for their incredible use of rubber that they even got their name from it. Olmec is the Nahuatl, or the Aztec language, word for rubber people. They would tap rubber trees, Ficus elastica, to extract latex the same way you'd tap a maple for syrup. Then they'd mix it with juice from the morning glory vine, and when it coagulated, it was rubber. These early indigenous people had all sorts of...
And that's majority of what we use today, y'all. So here it is. Matt Walsh was found out to be a liar. These people who you called savage and primitive treated you well, and had pieces of technology that you stole and use today in your society. But that's good. Keep that energy. You're proud of it, and so because of that pride, you will be brought down. Because of that pride, you will be brought down, Edom. And he's just one amongst many, right? He's just the one that got caught on camera voicing how he feels. Obadiah 1. I'm gonna start right at 10. It says, "For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. For all the things that you've done to us, you will be cut off. You and your people, Amalek, Teman, all you motherfuckers. You said you had pride. Well, have pride in front of Yahweh Shai." All right, that's all I got, y'all. I just wanted to, counter those two things. He said he called them savage and primitive. That's not the case, right? Esau doing what they do best, lying. All right, I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rachakorash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all the elect Akim, Wa Akwath, learning and teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom.